Here are 5 things that I wish that I knew before starting my fitness journey. These 5 things would have saved me so much stress and so much worry, so I'm here to break it down to you so that you don't have to stress and so that you don't have to worry. Number 1 is that genetics plays a huge role when it comes to your results. So you might see on Instagram a fitness influencer, she's doing all these type of workouts and she has a huge dump truck, an hourglass figure, barely any body fat, and you're thinking, wow, if I do these workouts, then it'll give me those type of results, right? Because that's what she's been doing. Wrong. But it's just not that simple. Her genetics could be that she naturally just holds a lot more body fat in her hip areas, or that it's just a lot easier for her to build muscle. Now you, on the other hand, might be the complete opposite. With your genetics, you might hold more body fat in your midsection. It might be really hard for you to build muscle. So the biggest lesson that I learned is sometimes you have to work 10 times as harder to get even half the results that these fitness influencers have. And even when you do that and take that approach, you're still never gonna look like them. What I learned is to stop comparing my journey in my chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 10. And not only that, genetics is the reason why I might take the same approach as the next girl, but we will never look the same and we're gonna look completely different. And there's nothing I could do to change that when it comes to taking the approach of fitness and the gym and nutrition. So I say all this to say, no matter what routine you follow that the fitness influencer might be telling you to do, because that's what she's been doing to get those type of results, you will never look like that. And I say this with love. Number 2, your progress isn't always going to be linear. Some days you might notice that the number on the scale went up compared to yesterday or the day before. Even though your goal is fat loss and you've been dropping down on body fat and eating in a calorie deficit, and you're here wondering why the hell is the number on the scale going up? This used to drive me crazy. Until I learned that not only is the number on the scale not the best indicator of progress, you can actually be seeing amazing results and getting the results that you want, but the scale might tell you otherwise. And there's different things that can play a role in this. Especially if you're building muscle, that might make the number on the scale go up even though you're losing body fat. If you weigh yourself right after a workout, the number on the scale might be higher than you're typically used to because of all that inflammation from working out and lifting weights and tearing down your muscle fibers. Or maybe if you weighed yourself early in the morning and you didn't empty your bowels, the number on the scale might go up. So I say all this to say, stop stressing out over the number on the scale because there's so many other better indicators of progress. For example, your clothes fit a lot better, you're way more energized, you're more confident in what you see in the mirror, you've become way stronger in the gym and actually been lifting weights that you never lifted before, your body measurements have completely changed. All these things that I'm listing are way, way, way better indicators of progress compared to the number on the scale. So now, if you are someone that uses the number on the scale as an indicator of progress, you need to look at it at a bigger range. Don't compare Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Compare the first day of the month compared to the last day of the month. Because through Monday and Wednesday, the number on the scale has been going like this. But if you look at it from the top of the month to the bottom of the month, you notice, it's been going like this, but then it's been dropping down, coming back up, and then it's been dropping all the way down. So if you look at it on a bigger range, you'll know that the number actually has been going down. So just understand that when it comes to fat loss and weight loss, progress isn't always going to be linear. And you might notice your weight might fluctuate on the scale, and that's completely okay. Number 3, good quality sleep is probably going to be the number 1 most underrated thing when it comes to your fitness journey. You've been used to getting 5 hours, 4 hours of sleep. When it comes to weight loss or building muscle, that's not going to cut it. Minimum 7 hours. Of course, this varies on person to person, but 4 hours is not going to cut it. Why? Because let's take this as an example. You're in the gym, you're working out, you're lifting weights, you're breaking down your muscle fibers in order to build them back up to become bigger and stronger. So we have to heal in a sense, right? When we're lifting weights, we're tearing down our muscle fibers, so we need to build them back up. Same way you get a cut on your hand, and you need it to heal, our body does our healing in our sleep. So the same thing with your muscles and your fat loss. Your body does its healing and its repairing in your sleep. So if you're not getting enough sleep, it becomes a lot harder for your body to recover and build back that muscle and lose body fat at the same time. Number 4, I wish that I knew when I first started aiming to lose more than 1 pound of body fat a week is probably not the best option. Because it becomes a lot harder to sustain that fat loss when you have such an extreme calorie deficit. One of the things that I was doing is I was eating around 1,200, 1,300 calories. Yes, I was dropping weight and I was dropping it quickly, but I was starving and miserable while doing it. And the next thing you knew, I ended up in the cycle of binging back all the foods that I was trying to restrict myself from eating because I took such an extreme approach to fat loss. So my best recommendation is at most to put yourself in a 500 calorie deficit each day. Stay consistent with that, and that'll give you 1 pound of fat loss each week. You know, it's normal to feel hungry while eating in this calorie deficit, but you shouldn't be starving. And when I first started, there were times where I was absolutely starving, and I wish I took a more sustainable approach. And I'm sure you might be guilty of being in extreme calorie deficits. Yes, you lost the weight, but then you ended up gaining it right back. So what's the sense of doing that? We want to take the approach that, yes, helps us lose the weight, or even that helps us gain the weight. And we want to actually sustain that in the long run. You know, it's called yo-yo dieting. It's when you drop your calories so low, yes, you end up losing the weight and losing the body fat, but then you end up eating it right back because that approach was so unsustainable. And then you end up in this continuous cycle of dieting, losing the weight, and then gaining it right back. Dieting, losing the weight, and then gaining it right back. Then, you know, you tell yourself, oh my God, I've done everything I need to be doing to lose the weight, and I'm not losing the weight, I'm gaining it right back. But it's your approach. You're not taking the right approach. So if your goal is fat loss, take the approach of being in a 500 calorie deficit at most each day to help you lose 1 pound of body fat each week. And lastly, number 5, I wish I took weight training a lot more seriously when I first started. You know, when you're a beginner and you're a woman in the gym and you're first starting out, you might feel a little bit more intimidated when it comes to the weight section. But not only that, you might also try to avoid it because you think it might make you look manly, or it might make you look like a She-Hulk. You know, you're trying to not get so big, but it's not that simple and it's not that easy. I had the exact same mindset when I first started, and it held me back tremendously. What I wish I understood was that muscle and lifting weight is what actually gives you shape. And that was one of my big goals when I first started, is to, you know, obtain that hourglass figure. I had a little bit more of like, you know, a flat backside and things of that sort. And, you know, I wanted to build more shape in that area, but I didn't take the approach of lifting heavy enough weights and progressively overloading with that over time. And I didn't do that because I feared looking too manly or getting too big. But even with me now, I've been lifting for years and I still don't even have that look that I was afraid of getting. I mean, if you're watching this, I'm sure I don't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or a She-Hulk. So I say all this to say, prioritize a weight section the same way you do your cardio or your waist trainers. Because you'll come to find out that lifting weights and actually building muscle will not only help you achieve the results that you truly want, but sustain it in the long run. Stop thinking it'll make you look manly. There's literally women who take steroids and they still don't have that look to them. So what makes you think you doing bicep curls 2 times a week or hitting a shoulder press is gonna make you look manly? Look, I get it. Like, I thought the same thing when I first started, and I wish I had somebody here sitting me down telling me the exact same thing. Why? Because it would have saved me a lot of stress and a lot of worry. So I'm here to tell you, start prioritizing the weight section and start prioritizing building muscle, and you'll start seeing a lot more results.